This is the Dino Bidala Show, exclusively on SiriusXM's Progress.
And welcome back, Dino Bidala Show. We're live here, Wednesday, December 18th. We're watching history unveil right in front of us. It is happening. We're going to dip in live to some of the argument. It's going from the rule that they agreed to, and as opposed to House Judiciary or House Intel Committee, where it went on and on and on, debates on the floor of the House are actually set by the Rules Committee. And they voted on the rules earlier this morning in those 6 hours of debate, which should be coming to an end soon. When we get to Speaker Pelosi, who will be the last speaker, she was the first speaker and will be the last. We'll take that live, of course. I want to play some clips, but this really is historic. And Donald J. Trump, in a matter of hours from now, will be only the third United States president in the history of this republic to be impeached by the full House of Representatives. And so in the 230 years that we've operated under this U.S. Constitution, he has made history. And not a history that he wants. This stays with him forever. Diamonds are forever. Impeachment is forever. And it's part of the reason I don't want the articles of impeachment to be sent to the Senate. Something we discussed yesterday. But here's my big picture view. Donald Trump says he shouldn't be impeached. You know what? On some level, I agree. Donald Trump should not be being impeached today. Donald Trump should be indicted. He should be indicted for his crimes. And the fact that we allow a president to be above the law by not indicting them for their crimes committed in office is a travesty of justice and flies in the face of everything this nation is about. Everything we're taught from children, that no one is above the law, and in America, justice prevails. Well, because of DOJ Office of Legal Counsel memos, not regulations, not federal law, not Supreme Court decisions, Donald Trump cannot be charged with his crimes. And we went through it yesterday. The House Judiciary Committee report that came out Monday night, early Monday morning, like 1 a.m, they released it. It went through in such great detail about the crimes Donald Trump committed, not in generic terms, not in ambiguous terms like the articles of impeachment where it was abuse of power. They wrote specifically the federal crimes, and they cite 2, and I think there's more, but the 2 they cited were bribery, in violation of the federal bribery law, and they detail the 4 elements of the crime and how Trump has breached them all, fulfilled them all, and should be charged with bribery under federal law. Secondly, wire fraud. Wire fraud. He used the phone in furtherance of his bribery scandal, and it's technically the law is honest services, depriving the honest services of the United States of his work. But in any event, the bottom line is it's wire fraud, punishable, as they put in the report, by 20 years in prison on that count alone. So in this House Judiciary report, which I so wish today was the actual articles of impeachment, you have abuse of power, obstruction, then you have one on bribery with the federal statute, and you make the argument, and you have one on wire fraud. And there's a few others, campaign finance violations, that's a felony, that's Michael Cohen's in prison partly for that. Those should have been there. Donald Trump should be facing a real jury, not a rigged jury, not one where Mitch McConnell has made it clear this will not be a trial. And if we call it a trial, it's a joke. We should not use the term trial. In the Senate, there will be a charade. That's fine. Call it a farce or call it what it is, a TV show. It's a special episode of the Trump reality presidency, special couple of weeks, where we're going to have a play trial where the jury is legally bribed by the defendant. And the guy running the whole thing, Mitch McConnell, has made it clear yesterday, he said after the show, he is not an unbiased juror and that he is working and totally coordinating with the Trump counsel, which he said days before. We played that clip last night. Not a trial, charade, farce, TV show. There should be a trial, and Donald Trump should face a jury of his peers, and he will have every defense available to him that every defendant gets. Every protection of our Constitution he will be afforded. Sixth Amendment right to counsel. Fifth Amendment, he can confront his accusers. He can invoke the Fifth Amendment to not incriminate himself. Whatever he wants. That's where it should go. And a jury should decide Donald Trump's fate. But unfortunately, we have this impeachment part, which I think is great, which is the charging of Donald Trump, but nothing following that means anything, which is why, again, to reiterate my argument last night, was that Just so it's clear, there's nothing in the Constitution that mandates that once Trump is impeached by the House, that there must be a trial in the Senate. It simply says in the Constitution, the House has the sole power to impeach. And then it goes on to say, the Senate has the sole power to try all impeachments. Now, there's something missing in between. How do you get between those two? Well, there's nothing in the Constitution that fills it in. There's no Supreme Court decision, nor any federal statute that does. You go to the Senate rules then that were enacted in 1986 and make it very clear. The triggering mechanism for the Senate to have an impeachment trial, very simple. It's laid out. Can't make up new rules now. Be very challenging to do this. The impeachment method is the House impeaches someone, then they have to then appoint House managers who are prosecutors, and then those House managers literally have to come over to the bar of the Senate. That's what it says, the bar of the Senate, and declare they are ready. And that's the word. They have to say, we are ready. Actually, it has to say that. And then the Secretary of the Senate will inform the presiding officer of the Senate it's time for a trial, and then it triggers it. And within the next day, literally it says, the next day, like by 1 p.m. Eastern time, the Senate has to begin their process. Don't appoint House managers. No one walks over the articles of impeachment. Donald Trump is impeached forever. He is never exonerated. And the exoneration to me is not for political means or for political reasons. It's for this. It is a desperate effort by me and others who support this idea to deter Donald Trump from future crimes. The idea of having open impeachment hanging over his head, knowing if he does anything more, we're going to add more articles. And maybe, just maybe, we get to enough articles of crimes that Trump has committed that it moves enough senators, 20, that's all we need in the Senate, who are Republicans, to say, we are going to put the United States of America over our party. And maybe that has to happen after the primary schedule, where there's no more primaries for the 2020 senators up for re-election who are Republicans who are worried about this. In any event, that's what I believe so strongly, because the exoneration of Trump in the Senate is worse than anything we've seen before, and that Trump will be emboldened. He will believe he is untouchable. He will say, Mueller investigated me for 2 years, didn't lay a glove on me. The House impeached me, didn't lay a glove on me. I can do whatever I want. I'm untouchable. No one can bring down the great Donald Trump, King Trump. That's what he would think, because a normal person might be led that way. A sociopath like Trump, and again, I use that term as clinically as possible, someone who has no sense between right and wrong, everything's about themselves, there's no compassion or empathy, it's selfishness to levels that are almost criminal. That's Trump, folks. So you have this trial, he's exonerated, worse, he's emboldened and commits more crimes. None of us can think of how deep into the abyss of criminality and misconduct Trump will commit, unless you're listening from prison right now and you're a sociopath yourself. And as I said before, we need that political version like of Silence of the Lambs. We need the Hannibal Lecter, who's a political version. I can sit there and go, what's he going to do next? And then he'll tell us, because only a political sociopath can tell us. Because normal people don't know. Normal people, July 24, 2019, Robert Mueller testifies is not impressive. A normal person doesn't pick up the phone the next day, like Trump did, and call Zelensky in Ukraine and go, can you interfere in 2020 to help me now? No. I've had Glenn Kirshner, Jill Wine-Banks, former federal prosecutors. I've had members of Congress who are former prosecutors, who've all said this. They have never seen a criminal as brazen as Donald Trump. Because most criminals, when they don't get caught or get away with it, await a period of time before they commit another crime. They don't do it the next day. And that's what Trump did. And that's what Adam Schiff and others desperately try to get into the media to make that point. So people go, doesn't matter your politics. You go, this guy will do anything. Nothing can hold him back. So let's play some clips. We're going to have a lot of time for calls. I promise you. Let's play a few clips now. We'll take a break, come back, take calls. At the top of the hour, Joan Walsh, you know, from CNN and The Nation will join us for a little bit. Then we'll take calls. In the third hour, NBC.com, Raul Reyes, who's also a lawyer, will join us in studio, but we'll take some calls as well. I promise you we're going to go live to the actual vote. When Speaker Pelosi speaks, and we're getting there because you see some of the big Republican big hitters, and I see that air quotes, but Mark Meadows is speaking now, and I'm sure we're going to have a jacketless Jim Jordan, and Matt Gaetz spoke already, and then it'll close with probably Kevin McCarthy, the GOP minority leader, and then Speaker Pelosi will be the last person. So when that comes, we'll immediately, even if we're chatting, I'll put you on hold. We'll take her. And then we won't sit here for the vote. We'll have our discussion. But then when the roll call, it's tabulated and it's announced, we will play that live so we can all know history. But here's a little bit. Let's play a clip or two. We'll come back and take a break. Here's Nancy Pelosi today around noon Eastern Time opening the impeachment debate. This is historic. Clip number one.
We gather today under the dome of this temple of democracy to exercise one of the most solemn powers that this body can take, the impeachment of the President of the United States. No member, regardless of party or politics, comes to Congress to impeach a president. But every one of us, as our first act as a member of Congress, stood on this historic House floor before our beautiful American flag and raised our hands in this sacred oath. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help me God. For 230 years, members have taken that sacred oath, which makes us custodians of the Constitution.
And then she goes on to say that Trump left us no choice but to impeach him. And I want to play one more clip, her talking about what the damage Trump has done to our nation and going forward. Clip number 3, Matt, we'll go to.
What we are discussing today is the established fact that the president, again, violated the Constitution. It is a matter of fact that the president is, again, an ongoing threat to our national security. And the testimony of decorated war heroes, distinguished diplomats, and patriotic career public servants, some of the president's own appointees over the past weeks, have told us this. The president used the power of his public office to obtain an improper personal political benefit at the expense of America's national security. When a president weakens a Democratic ally that is advancing American security interests by fighting an American adversary, the president weakens America. This abuse of power also jeopardizes the integrity of our elections. All Americans agree that American voters should choose our president, not some foreign government. The founders understood that it is profoundly corrosive for our democracy for a president to invite interference in our elections.
So she was very clear. It was a short opening statement, about 6-7 minutes. She's going to speak soon. So Matt, we're going to take Speaker Pelosi live. Probably we'll take a break and come back. I will say this: if you watch Democratic speakers at any time, you had moments from work or you were able to watch it, you saw the speakers on the Democratic side truly represent the mosaic that is this country, this beautiful melting pot that is America, that went up there and spoke. And if you watch the Republican side, folks, you saw all different shades of white, except from Will Hurd. In fact, there's 197 Republicans in the House. How many are black? 1. Will Hurd, and he's retiring. In fact, between the House and the Senate, and this might stun people, there are 250 elected Republicans between the House and the Senate. How many are black? 2. One of them's leaving. 50% is leaving. Tim Scott, the Republican, the senator. Part of this, because a lot of people are stunned by no Republicans calling out Trump's wrongdoing. I'm going to be blunt. This is my view, and you can disagree. I'm all ears. Part of this is the Republican effort to hold on to the white supremacist power structure. That's what this is. I'm not going to say this is the last stand of white supremacy because I think it's just a stand. I don't think we're close to the end of white supremacy in this country. But it is a stand. There's no doubt in my mind the desperation defending Donald Trump is defending a man who openly trafficked in white supremacy. And this is important. The GOP had more diversity. They are now almost a whites-only party on the federal level, at least. And to me, their support of Donald Trump today is not just about his actions with Ukraine. Their support of Donald Trump today is defending his actions in demonizing African Americans, calling Maxine Waters low IQ and others like Jay-Z and Don Lemon dumb and unintelligent. It's calling Africa an S-hole country, demonizing NFL players who took a knee. And beyond that, it's demonizing Muslims and Latinos. It's defending men who abuse women, as Donald Trump has done in his own case, but also people like Roy Moore and Bill O'Reilly and Roger Ailes and Rob Porter's aide, and the list goes on. Donald Trump will always stand with the man who abuses women. That's what the GOP is about. This is the party that put children in cages, and they're defending that tonight with Donald Trump. By defending Trump, you're defending all of that. You own all of it. Policies that discriminate against the LGBT community as a matter of law, they're defending that tonight as well. This is what the party has become. So this is not, let's not lose sight of the big picture. This is, people like, why are they so impassioned with Donald Trump? Why won't they admit he did something wrong? Because all of it is at risk. Because if Trump somehow is so damaged and they lose because Republicans have spoken the truth and said Donald Trump's committed crimes in office, that is a threat to the white supremacist power structure in this nation. So they must stand white shoulder to white shoulder. That's what, they're not going to say that on cable news. But to me, and it's not the last stand. People keep saying it's the last stand. Nope, not the last stand of white supremacy, folks, I can assure you. A lot more stands coming. 2020 is the next time we're going to see more of it. We really did a great job in 2018 and 2019. We flipped 9 governorships under Donald Trump from red to blue, including in really red states like Kansas, Kentucky. We defended Louisiana, state that Trump won big, but we survived that there. We took the House back for the first time in almost a decade. We've won over 400 state legislative seats in the last 2 years, 2.5 years. That is America pushing back. That is real America rising up and seeing what Trump is about. We now control the Virginia state legislature, both chambers for the first times in January when they're sworn in for the first time in over 2 decades. It's not happenstance. It's not just, oh, look what happened. No, it's Americans waking up and the other side waking up. So 2020 is going to be ugly. It's not going to be about impeachment. It's going to be about a bunch of issues, but underneath it, white supremacy. And we have to be blunt about what we're fighting against. And when white supremacy is threatened, history shows us this. It responds with violence. That's the truth. So let's take a break, come back. We'll take some calls. We are going to cut to Speaker Pelosi when she speaks live. I think we're getting closer to that. So let's take a quick break, come back, 866-997-4748.
The Dean Obeidallah Show.
Voting is the most important civil right of our era.